You stand in the Senate on the day Gaius takes power, and for the first time in years, Rome feels like it has a future. The marble columns catch morning light the way they should, clean and unburdened by the paranoia that hung over every session under Tiberius. And when the young emperor speaks, his voice carries warmth that feels almost like hope. He's 24, beloved by legions who knew his father, and when he promises to restore dignity, you want to believe, because the alternative is unthinkable. The first weeks are strange only in small ways you rationalize. He laughs too long at a senator's joke until the sound becomes uncomfortable, and everyone else has stopped smiling, but he continues, eyes wet with mirth at something that wasn't funny. You notice he doesn't blink as often as others, that his gaze fixes on middle distance while someone speaks, and you tell yourself he's thoughtful, burdened by empire at such young age. His decisions seem capricious, promoting a guard for no reason, demoting a consul because his toga was wrong purple, but you convince yourself there's a pattern you don't understand yet. The palace begins to smell different, not bodies or blood, but something subtle, the scent of fear working into marble pores, into curtain fabric, into spaces between words where people used to speak freely. You realize something is wrong the morning he executes a servant for coughing during breakfast, not in anger, but with pleasant smile. And after the body is dragged away and blood cleaned, no one says anything because there's nothing left to say that won't get you killed. Being in his presence becomes physical terror, every muscle tightening when you hear his sandals on polished stone, because you never know if this is the day he notices you, and you can't predict if that notice means wealth or death. You watch senators develop the same posture over weeks, shoulders drawn to ears, breathing barely visible, eyes downcast because meeting his gaze might be challenge or disrespect, and there's no way to know which until too late. A consul laughs at wrong moment and is beheaded before sunset. Another fails to laugh when Caligula jokes about his mother and is exiled to starve slowly on an island. You learn to read his footsteps, the rhythm that means generous mood versus the slower pace that precedes violence, and your stomach contracts into a fist every time because your life is a waiting game where rules change hourly. He touches people unpredictably, sometimes a hand on shoulder that feels like brand burning through fabric, sometimes gentle pat that makes grown men weep with relief. The guards develop tremors, slaves stop making eye contact, and everyone moves like walking on frozen lake that might crack, testing each step. Logic has left entirely, replaced by a system where survival depends not on law or reason, but on momentary whims of a mind operating by rules no one else can see. The conversations disappear first, gradually, like water evaporating until you realize no one speaks freely anymore, because any person might report any word for favor or fear, or because madness is contagious. You used to argue about policy over wine, passionate debates about grain distribution and military spending, but now those rooms are silent except banal pleasantries, because the man across from you might be friend or executioner. Caligula exiles his sisters after incest rumors, and the message is clear. If blood offers no protection, what chance does friendship have? You see colleagues betray each other over nothing, inventing conspiracies to divert suspicion for one more day, and the Senate becomes a space where 30 men occupy the same room, yet each is completely alone. The empire is forced to validate his madness to function, every institution warping to accommodate objectively false beliefs. When he declares himself living God, priests write new liturgies, and philosophers construct justifications because belief is mandatory and disbelief is death. You sit in meetings where grown men discuss proper protocol for addressing the emperor's horse with same seriousness once reserved for war strategy, and the cognitive dissonance makes you feel like you're losing your own mind. The loneliness wraps around your throat like hands in rooms full of people performing desperate pantomime of normalcy while floor crumbles. You watch a father denounce his son to prove loyalty. The son is executed, the father promoted, and everyone pretends this makes sense. But if you think unpredictability was worst part, you haven't yet understood what happened when he turned his madness outward, when he decided even gods and nature needed reminding who held power in Rome. You're standing on beach in Gaul in full armor, gladius in hand, and the officer is screaming orders to attack the ocean, and you understand reality has disconnected from reason, and there's nothing but obey or die. Caligula has marched entire legions to coast, veterans of Germanic campaigns, and now you're commanded to wage war against sea itself, to stab waves with swords designed to kill men. The absurdity circles back to horror because everyone is doing it. Thousands of soldiers screaming battle cries at salt water, thrusting spears into foam that dissolves, forming ranks against enemy that doesn't exist, while Caligula watches from platform draped in purple silk. The sensory assault overwhelms, sound of thousands shouting at nothing, smell of sweat and salt and leather baking under sun, sensation of sand shifting under sandals with each wave soaking your legs, and through it all, the ocean continues eternal rhythm, completely indifferent. You see humiliation in eyes of men around you, centurions who've served 20 years, reduced to this theater, yet no one breaks formation, no one laughs, no one questions, because you watched what happened to Tribune who suggested this wasn't best use of resources. He was fed to animals during lunch, his screaming carrying across beach as a reminder that doubt is treason. The waves keep coming, patient and eternal, and you keep stabbing them, muscles burning, throat raw, and somewhere you understand this isn't just insanity, this is test, demonstration that Caligula can make you do anything, believe anything, and you'll do it because the alternative is death. He has you collect seashells after, ordering you to fill helmets and call them plunder from conquered ocean, and you do it. You fill helmet designed for combat with worthless shells, and you watch him smile with genuine pleasure. And this wasn't the only time. This is what matters, because the war on sea was just one performance in a reign that turned governance into theater, where every day was a test of how much absurdity Rome would swallow before it choked. The horse comes to Senate meetings now, and you have to pretend this is normal. Have to watch as a stallion named Incitatus is led into chamber and positioned in ivory stall while you conduct empire business. Caligula declared intention to make the horse consul, and whether he follows through hardly matters because degradation is same. You are senator of Rome, your family served republic for generations, and you're sharing legislative space with animal that shits on marble floor while you debate taxation. The smell gets you first, sharp ammonia of horse urine mixing with incense slaves frantically burn, then sound of hooves clopping on stone where only human footsteps should echo. And you watch elderly senators bow when they pass the horse because no one knows if failing to show respect might be interpreted as disrespect to Caligula. They've installed feeding trough of carved ivory, and during breaks you watch slaves bring horse oats in golden bowls, while human senators eat simple bread in silence, and the inversion demonstrates that you, with all your education and lineage, are worth less to him than animal. The bridge across Bay of Baiae stretches 3 miles, floating platform from warships that should protect empire, and you're watching Caligula ride back and forth wearing armor he claims belonged to Alexander, except everyone knows it's costume made last month. He ordered every available military vessel lashed together, creating road across water that consumed resources meant for defense, and now you're required to line this bridge and applaud as he gallops past, pretending this waste is demonstration of Roman power. The ships creak under weight, wood flexing in ways never designed, and you feel structure sway with each wave, and there's real possibility entire thing could collapse and kill hundreds, but suggesting this is dangerous would be suggesting Emperor's plan is flawed, which is treason. The sun beats down, turning deck plates into griddles burning through sandal soles, and you've stood at attention 4 hours watching him ride, sometimes stopping to pose dramatically, and your legs shake and vision blurs from heat, but you can't sit because no one else sits, and being first to show weakness might mean being next example. They kill him in a corridor beneath Palace, the Praetorian Guard that was supposed to protect him, and there's no drama, no grand conspiracy, just administrative necessity of removing problem that should have been addressed months earlier. Cassius Chaereas strikes first, the officer Caligula mocked for soft voice, and the irony would be poetic if anyone had energy for poetry, but mostly there's just relief, the kind that comes after holding breath so long you forgot what normal breathing feels like. You hear about it third hand, 30 stab wounds, his wife and daughter killed immediately after, body removed so quickly that within hour there's no physical evidence except bloodstains slaves are scrubbing away. The Senate doesn't celebrate, they just sit looking exhausted, like men who've been carrying impossible weight and finally been allowed to set it down. And when someone suggests declaring restoration of the Republic, the words hang before everyone remembers they don't have courage or will to govern themselves anymore. The Praetorian Guard finds Claudius hiding behind a curtain and declares him emperor within hours, and the transition is so smooth it's almost insulting. Proof entire system was ready to move on. You feel no triumph, just hollow understanding that Rome didn't learn anything except eventually every tyrant dies and another takes his place. The fear doesn't leave, you still flinch at footsteps, still measure words carefully, still sleep badly, because 4 years of terror doesn't wash away. His name is officially damned, statues pulled down, memory erased, but you can't erase memory of what it felt like to live where sanity was optional and power absolute. You see it sometimes in modern world, same pattern in different costumes, leaders making objectively false statements and watching entire systems validate those lies because questioning is too dangerous. Institutions warping around one person's delusions until reality becomes negotiable. The scale differs now, methods more sophisticated, but fundamental equation remains. When enough power concentrates in hands that lost grip on truth, everyone becomes complicit, and collective sanity can be held hostage by single mind refusing to acknowledge limits. Caligula declared war on ocean, and Rome obeyed. You watch leaders declare war on facts, and institutions obey, and difference is degree rather than kind. The mechanisms that allowed him to rule 4 years haven't disappeared, they've evolved, become subtle, distributed, harder to name, but core remains. Willingness to abandon collective reality for individual delusion when cost of resistance seems too high. You tell yourself it could never happen again, that we've learned, but then you remember how quickly Senate forgot how to speak freely, how easily soldiers learned to stab waves, how naturally humans adapt to participating in their degradation when survival depends on it. History calls him mad, Rome called him emperor, but the sea still remembers the day an empire stabbed the waves and called it victory.